Kaimere is a distant planet. It is defined by waves of life brought from Earth and set free to evolve independently in this new context. The indigenous life of the planet, swarms of microbes called magic by the people who live there, are what harvest Earth organisms and make copies on Kaimere. As the asteroid which concluded the Mesozoic never struck Kaimere, dinosaurs remain the dominant terrestrial megafauna.
Maneaters are individual animals that seek humans as prey. This term does not apply to animals attacking in self-defense, scavenging, or opportunistically hunting and eating the occasional human, though these are instances that can lead to maneaters. Maneater is generally reserved for predators that regularly consume humans and rarely applies to generalist predators that might take the occasional available human. On both Earth and Kaimere, big cats are the most notorious maneaters. It is common for big cats to develop prey preference on an individual level. The lions who hunt buffalo, for example, seem to be individuals specialized and proficient in the task, and inexperienced members of the species don't show this success. There is, of course, hunting instinct involved, but it appears largely taught and practiced. It seems this inclination to specialize makes them particularly prone to developing into maneaters. Big cats make such an effective maneater due to their agility and stealth, allowing them to infiltrate settlements undetected, and this talent has only worsened in Kaimere due to big cats being themselves prey animals, and species like lions that on Earth would be easier to fight perhaps due to being more aggressive, are quite covert in Kaimere. Many maneaters begin this prey preference after sustaining an injury that prevents them from hunting wild game. These injuries are often the result of human interaction. Random traps or inexperienced shooters can easily injure an animal seeking other prey, often in an effort to deter these animals from human settlements, ironically creating the very maneaters the traps and bullets were meant to deter. Other times, the targeting of humans is driven by passive proximity. Leopards are particularly notorious for this. Scavenging human corpses is said to be a common origin of leopards hunting people. Amongst kaimerans, leopards are the most common maneaters. Kaimerans are on average smaller than humans, meaning a leopard tom can reliably bring down, while still being small enough to effectively maneuver a settlement with their prize. Canids are also known to go maneater in Kaimere. Wild wolves of Picardia and southern Arvel are generally timid around people and avoid settlements. This is not the case for wolves which domesticated dogs have interbred with. These populations, with dog in their ancestry, are generally assumed to make up a majority of wolf attacks and maneaters, as they don't have the natural fear of people, yet are still wild and aggressive predators. They rapidly become comfortable near settlements and quickly graduate from livestock to people. In southern Picardia, these wolf dogs can often weigh more than a grown man and are formidable adversaries. The issue of domesticated predators reproducing with wild ancestors has also created the formidable Westwood boar of Qajar and Highland boars of the Free States. Boar and domesticated hogs are difficult and dangerous on their own, but the combination has resulted in some particularly dangerous killers. An example without precedent on Earth are the unions between wild Kodrith lions and the domesticated Nerotan lions. These domesticated lions were bred with great care, but that doesn't mean the lineage all remain with the breeders. Having an obedient lion is appealing to many people, and while Nerotans don't give their cats away, some are, of course, stolen and counterfeit lineages bred. Without the regimented training and breeding of the Nerotans themselves, these lions can quickly get out of control. When these lions escape and breed with wild stock, a particularly dangerous killer is born. Like wolf dogs, they are quite comfortable around people and will often be hand-raised, so associate people with food. However, most have the aggression of a wild predator and cunning to match. These hybrid lions are greatly feared, accounting for a statistical majority of maneaters in Qajar, and are one of the many reasons Nerotans are extremely protective of and disciplined with their companions. Crocodiles walk a gray area regarding their status as maneaters. While the attacks are quite frequent, for the most part, they are usually opportunistic. The saltwater and housey crocodiles are known to seek out and target kaimerans, though this may simply be a matter of them frequenting riversides with a lot of activity, and human settlements along riverbanks naturally have a lot of activity. They are also likely to attack livestock as the villagers. The Hereditary crocodile is also known to practice this behavior, but at least by reputation, Hereditary crocodile bulls are much more likely to target people over livestock. According to Imperial Census, crocodile deaths are as much as 20 times as likely in those wetlands as in other regions of the Empire, and they have a most dangerous animal in this habitat after venomous snakes. However, it must be said that no part of the Empire has such abundant crocodile territory, so there's certainly more to these statistics than species behavior alone. Hyenas, bears, sloths, and common cockatrice all have maneaters in their ranks, but they are not nearly as common as the species mentioned previously. There are some individuals who do rack up quite a kill count, even if they aren't common. A boar Wojun sloth in the Imperial Riverlands, for example, killed over a dozen people and partially consumed them before he was finally put down by an Imperial knight. In Qajar, a lone, large male common cockatrice named Atlacus evaded capture for 7 years and killed over 300 farmers in that time. Maneaters are not the only dangerous animals. Herbivores can account for more deaths in some regions and contexts. Even if they don't eat people, hippos and buffalo can kill hundreds of people every year. Intelligent animals can be especially dangerous, killing people out of vengeance. Proboscideans are particularly well known for this on both Earth and Kaimere. These are not man-eaters, so aren't the subject of today's episode, but they are certainly dangerous forces of nature. Within the known world, many of the most dangerous predators and frequent man-eaters are ones we are acquainted with, such as wolves, big cats, and crocodiles. However, as one might expect from the dinosaurs sharing these habitats, some are quite unfamiliar. In the highland forests of Arvel, the fireback terrorbird is known to be a potent man-eater. They are intelligent and social predators, and it doesn't seem to take much for them to seek out loggers. The indigenous peoples of the regions have their precautions, but the Kadrith loggers and miners working in these hills and hollers are not prepared for enormous predators that can learn how to open doors and quite used to navigating around armored prey, so even the mercenary guards are not always safe. Harukundi terror birds of the Housey Prairie are particularly famous man-eaters as well. They are incredibly fast runners. Not as swift as an unburdened horse, but they have superior endurance, and when a horse is burdened with a rider, the bird sometimes can outpace after a chase. Sometimes they go for the steed, although many learn that the slower horses with a person make it easier catch in part because of the person on their back, and accordingly target the rider. Yanking a rider off a galloping horse isn't much of a trouble, and the process of ripping a rider from the saddle and letting them fall and assault do the killing is much easier than taking down a stallion. Another bird that is known to go man-eater is the parrot rouquel. These highly intelligent birds are generally omnivores, but they are quite curious, and that curiosity, coupled with exceptional climbing abilities, means they can easily sneak into a camp, decapitate a person in their sleep, and steal away with the body before they are discovered. While adult Zentaur and Uktan usually aren't interested in people, juvenile megaraptorans are a much different story. The intelligent predators can take up to 2 decades to reach adulthood, and in that time, they experiment with a wide range of prey. Some Zentaur in particular will selectively seek out kaimerans during their adolescence, but thankfully they tend to require enough meat that adulthood seems to see them prefer larger game, and most grow out of being maneaters. The trouble comes when their prey fights back. Killing a 1-ton centaur is achievable for a few well-armed men, but if the hunt fails and the theropod escapes with injuries preventing them from hunting wild game, it may end up entirely reliant on people. There have been accounts of villages beholden to a centaur, feeding them sacrifices of livestock and neighboring peoples to sate its formidable hunger. An unfortunate consequence of maneaters and Kaimere that we don't experience on Earth has to do with the hereditary magic of kaimerans. This magic grants them long life by fortifying their host. The magic doesn't fully transfer to another host, but as it is linked to the original Kaimeran, and often the stomach acid of predators kills magic, but sometimes it can bolster the animals that eat them. Usually this just manifests as a maneater with slightly enhanced physical attributes. If an animal has enough magic of its own, however, this can quickly cascade into a creation of a powerful and voracious demon. This is theorized to be the origin of the oversized and extremely aggressive titan crow named Vascalamaldus, which terrorized the forests of northern Qajar. The more Kaimerans he ate, the stronger his own magic became, and his size further increased as a consequence. Many of the weapons used against him had minimal effect, as the magic was able to heal around arrows and spears. By the time of his featured story, Death Walks on Broken Wings, he had eaten dozens, if not hundreds, of kaimerans, and was too large to fly. The first demons appear to actually predate the first harvests of Earth. They would simply be a swarm of magic that created a body of slime by processing other forms of magic and water. They may indeed have been Kaimere's first predators, though the fossil record of slimes is understandably extremely poor, and their indigenous multicellular analogues may well have been far more diverse. Regardless, these slimes are still found in a few pockets of the known world, particularly in cold, damp caves where few animals pose a threat. In these caves, if a slime consumes a Kaimeran, witch, or other being with magic, the magic having imprinted on the personality of a human will take on human aspects in the slime, and often seek out more prey with this sort of magic. These demons, called Shoggoth by the Assembly after Lovecraft's similar amorphous entities with many eyes, can become extremely proficient at hunting and bringing down human prey, and seeking out the magic in Kaimerans and witches to dramatically enhance their metabolism, though they are generally restricted to cave systems due to being fairly easy prey when exposed or dehydrated. Nasiri is a Picardian hunter who specializes in maneaters. In the past centuries, he has formed a guild with the express purpose of hunting down and killing confirmed maneaters. Especially after they have eaten a few Kaimerans, maneaters can become increasingly difficult to kill, and conventional methods of trapping and killing dangerous animals may no longer be sufficient. Also, having proficient hunters killing these animals reduces the risk of innocent animals being killed or injured to the point of turning maneater when they otherwise wouldn't have. Nasiri has killed hundreds of confirmed maneaters in his time. Much of his life is covered in the episode here. When the first children colonized the Kadjareth Peninsula, they slaughtered all native megafauna. It is presumed that exterminating maneaters was a major drive of this effort. When the interrupted harvest began and new fauna were introduced to Qajar from late Pleistocene North America, new predators were introduced that were undoubtedly maneaters, such as Smilodon and the American lion, which were exterminated with the same prejudice as their predecessors. The small size of the first children meant that cougars and wolves in the same harvest would have been equally deadly, and it is likely still a few Kadjareth crocodiles competing with the new alligators. It was an early theory that the first homunculi using aspects of maneaters would have been made to help exterminate these carnivorans and crocodiles in the rivers. However, More recent and reliable dating methods show that there is enough of a gap between the first homunculi and the last Smilodon, Pantheratrox, and Chondrith crocodiles that these predators were likely endangered or extinct by the time the homunculi were made. A new leading theory is that the mighty predators were only revered and admired once they were no longer a regular threat. After all, your opinion on a predator you witnessed eating your loved one is going to be different than one only known by reputation, skeleton, and a few captive specimens. Big cats and crocodiles are a lot more badass at a distance, not up close with your friend in its jaws, so it would make sense that these homunculi to be homages to deadly, formidable beasts of the past that were no longer a threat. However, as we'll see next week, making homunculi with the anatomy and instincts of maneaters can come with some predictable consequences. Maneaters are a terrifying prospect. Encountering dangerous beasts is bad enough, but when they are predators that target specifically and perfect the task of killing people is quite chilling. We like to have the illusion of safety and control in our settlements. Maneaters challenge not only that safety, but the security of our place in the food chain we tend to hold so dear. Our world has, in many ways, been remade, made safe. However, it is baked into our mind and body to never truly rest. You never know which shadow might conceal a patient killer. Cheers to Ian for sponsoring this episode. You may note the glaring omission of one of the most frightening man-eaters, others of our own kind. Next week, we will explore anthropophagy, or cannibalism, in Kaimere. It is a grim subject, and I strongly advise caution and discretion before you watch. Thank you to Ian for this sponsorship, to my Patreon patrons for your support, and thank you for watching. Cheers, folks!